welcome back, guys. If you're new to the channel, this is my 2004 STi Project Daily. If you guys were here before, you guys know that this engine in here was sitting over there 6 months ago. So what we did is we went ahead, we did a refresh, and then we installed a bunch of really cool mods, and then eventually got it tuned. So today's video is going to be the recap of all that and the adventures we've gone through, and then a little performance review of how does it drive, how does it handle, and so forth. So let's dive right into Project Daily. So I bought this car about 2 years ago, and we had it for the first summer and winter, and everything was good. But I decided, since it is becoming my more fun weekend car, and because I have that, my 04 Forester as a daily, I thought I might as well refresh the engine, get a little bit cleaned up, and do some of the maintenance that was required. Because it was leaking oil, it was burning oil, and the turbo wasn't running so great. So what we did, starting in last February, we pulled this motor out. Me and my friend Adrian, he actually pulled his 06 motor because it spun a bearing. So he knew what he was doing, but I really didn't. So we pulled this out, we refreshed it. We also painted the engine bay. If you can see here, this is not the stock engine bay color. We painted it because the paint, the respray, was actually changing it back to silver. So I went ahead and grabbed some rattle can paint that was paint matched and sprayed it right down. So that was pretty much one of the things we did in the engine bay. But with the engine, we did a lot of things. We refreshed all the hoses, the seals, and all that fun stuff. Just because those were getting cracked. This is an 04. They started to wear and they're showing their time. So we did that. We actually went ahead, changed as many seals as we could. We didn't split the casings, nor did we take off the heads, but we stripped it down to the heads in the block, and I actually washed those up. So all these videos I'm talking about will be up here at one point. Also, in that process, we also went ahead and installed some of the modifications. So some of the modifications we did were TGV deletes. We also put in oil pressure, fuel pressure, and oil temp. IAG air oil separator, new intake, and a couple other things here or there. Also, the most important mod, if you guys know about Subarus, you know Killer B oil pickup. Most important thing to do because the old ones actually break off, and that's what happened to Adrian. With that all done, we went ahead, put the motor back in, and we got it started up. We actually did that in about a week. We went from engine out, not being completely assembled, to engine in and running and on the dyno. With that, we had a failure on the dyno. On the GDs, we actually have a very common failure with the fuel pump. It just wasn't holding pressure. So they went to change it. They couldn't change it because it was so rusted on. And then they took it off and they actually made a new fuel line that kind of runs under the car and then to the stock hard lines, and then ran it up into the bay. With that, they put a new pump in, and this new pump doesn't have the fuel filter as the stock ones did. So what we ended up doing actually is we ended up putting a WX fuel filter in. This can also be replaced by radium in the future. This just is more serviceable, and it's just a better filter overall. And then after all that, we actually got the car tuned. It did make 257 horsepower. I might be a little bit wrong off that, but I'll put the dyno sheet up so you guys can check that out. It has a beautiful power curve. It is super fun, as I'll show you guys in a little bit. It hits hard right up top, and it kind of dies out at the end, but we can always fix that with a bigger turbo and some more fuel in the future. But since some of you guys probably are new to this channel, I'll walk you through now the stuff that makes my car a little bit different from the rest of the 04 STIs you see around. So this one, first of all, has been completely detailed. It's got 255 tires square with an R compound and a 9-inch rim. So super grippy, super great for autocross. Unfortunately, they closed our autocross this year, so it looks like I'm actually going to be doing some track days, hopefully next year. Right now, I just didn't have the money to go do it. It's a really expensive track day, so I didn't have the money to do it with all the stuff I was doing with this. With that tire setup, we also have BC coilovers. They're performing pretty good for the way I have them set up, but if I'm definitely getting into the track scene more, I would definitely go with some, maybe even KWs or something along that line. We got 25% tint all the way around, and then just the brow up top. And then we have this. This was one of the first big things we did with the car. So this is a fully custom roof rack we installed. This roof rack is mounted, hard mounted into the unibody itself. It's actually the old rails. We put a bracket and it's mounted on there. So it's not actually in the window. And then with the car itself, a couple interior things that makes it unique. It also has a 3-inch catless exhaust system, kind of standard with Subarus nowadays. We have those guys. So those were a part of the installation in the winter. Those are the Defi BF fuel gauges, or not fuel gauges, oil gauges and fuel pressure. Those are the 62-inch in ATI housing. So those are awesome. Those are probably my favorite thing ever. We have the access port for tuning, and then we have this giant mirror. So this is another cool thing that makes this car kind of unique, is kind of a race mirror. So we can, when we're doing track days or stuff, you actually don't even have to shoulder check because you can see 180 degrees behind you. And then a little bit farther, we have my star roof. So this was actually done, we rewrapped it because I didn't like it being gray, so we painted the pillars, and then we went ahead and put this in. This was the first time. I'm definitely have plans to do a more advanced version of this in the future, so if you want to see that, subscribe to the channel and we'll get it someday. So with all this, you're probably wondering, how does this perform? How does it drive? So, you know what, we're gonna show you exactly that. So let's jump in and go for a quick cruise. drive, as I said in a previous video, probably about a year ago even, the drive with these coilovers, because I'm running such a interesting setup, it's a little bit stiff, let's just say that. As you can probably tell, it bounces around a lot just in this video even. It kind of just bounces around. That's just because, well, I got it set pretty stiff so I don't take on my fenders. On the rear, I rub a little bit. It's not too big of a deal. It doesn't cut the wheel or anything, it just rubs a little bit. It actually takes off the paint on the inside, but that's not too big of a deal. So with regards to the stuff that's already been done before the winter, stuff like that we already knew about. Stuff like the noise, we knew it's a bit noisy, but it's actually even noisier now because we have the intake. And if you notice in the little clips here and there, the intake sounds really good, and it's really dark because there's the sun right there. It sounds absolutely amazing. So I'll just be quiet for a second. So that is all in cabin. That isn't like me adding some sound after. That's in cabin, guys. Because the turbo's right behind that firewall, with that intake that we put on, it opens it right up, so there's like barely any restrictions, and it just makes it sound so good. It does, if like first time people get in here, they're like, oh, that sounds like a spaceship or whatever. But if you do know the like car, and you do know like it's a turboed car, you're like, that's the best sound ever. The gauges themselves, you guys seen them, they work awesome. I did a whole video of installing them, but they're the best gauges I've ever had. So I went with the oil pressure, oil temp, and fuel pressure just because those are like the three most critical things. If one of those fail or gets out of specifications, you're in trouble. So I have those three, and because they're the DeFi advanced system, or DeFi system, they can actually be set up with warnings. So I got all the warnings on there if they get out of specification. So if something does happen, I'm like, oh, oil pressure just died. Well, we know something's wrong. It will warn me. I can shut the car off right away. Same with fuel pressure, or like oil temps getting too high, just cool it down. But it's awesome car to drive. If you guys do know, this is called Project Daily, quote unquote. So the main reason behind that naming is it's a daily drivable race car. That's the whole concept. It's not a full-on daily, quote unquote, because like this is almost too loud to daily. So when I'm driving around, it is a little bit loud, but it's a daily drivable race car. Something you can go to and from work and every day and still not be completely annoyed. It'd be a little bit annoying, but you could live with it. I know Adrian's with his 3-inch no muffler exhaust, that thing, he actually went and bought it daily because it was so loud. Talk about first world problems. Anyways, so with the all the stuff that has been done, it's only improved it immensely. With that, there's not much else I want to do in the interior. And that was a peace officer, and he was looking at me, so we'll see in a second. He stopped. Cool. We'll see. He might just be watching the school zone. Anyways, I'm gonna do a little poll here just so you guys can see how it reacts, or how it sounds in the car itself, because you did hear some external stuff. As you can see, it is a little bit loud, like a little bit noisy in the cabin, but it makes all the right noises, so you can't really complain about that. I could see how it would be a little hard to have a conversation with someone in the back seat, but having someone as a passenger, it's not actually that bad. And with regards to things that we did over this winter, so really we didn't do anything besides the gauges in the bay, or the interior. We did pull the old boost gauge out because I just was clashing with the really nice gauges, so I pulled that out. But one nice thing about the Tune is we have no check engine light. Even though I deleted all the evap system, because we had them go in then turn off the evap system, I don't have a check engine light. So we actually can tell if something's wrong with the engine now, which is awesome and something I haven't had since I've owned this car. Also, another thing is the fuel pump. So the fuel pump is a high flow AEM one. So because of that, you can actually hear it prime. And if you like have the car idling or something, you can kind of hear it. But it's something like it's not noticeable unless you know that there's an aftermarket fuel pump in there. And that's about it for the interior. There's probably stuff I forgot, honestly. There's been so much we've done to this and like so many revisions of this car that we've done. It's just something like there's stuff that I forgot. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them down below and I'll try to make a video. Videos, as I said in my video about school and stuff, aren't as regular as always, but I will always be making video guys for you guys. And there we go, guys. That is the 2019 recap of Project Daily. So overall, this car has been amazing. It's been an amazing journey, even this past not even year, how much I've learned and how much I've worked through on this car. I feel like I know most of the systems now, that I can work on them without any worries. Before, I was like kind of guessing what was going on. Anyways, this is pretty much the end of the video. So I usually don't do this in my videos if you're new. This is actually the first time I think I've ever done it. Is I just am asking you guys, if you guys like the video, drop a like down below, because it really helps the YouTube metrics a lot, and it shows me what kind of content you guys do like. Also, if you guys are new to this channel, subscribe and you will see all the new content that is coming out. We're going to be working on my 04 Forester. We have a huge project going on with that. I'm in the process of drafting it up right now, so that's going to be coming. We're going to be working on this again this winter, probably maybe doing some snow drifting, and that's about it. But I'm going to end this video off right where we used to end it off every single video back in Project Daily, but this time just a little bit different, a little more exciting, and hopefully a couple new viewers. So that is going to be it for today, but as always, peace out and stay humble.